playing the young Shah Rukh Khan meant, I can't even tell you what it meant to me and my family. That night I remember it was, how Raju and Babu Bhaiya and Shyam don't sleep at night when they want to steal money. That was the mahal at my house. Nobody could sleep. Initially I wanted to drive, but then nobody was giving me a driving job. And then I found this job of cleaning plates at a stall. Helped me understand Balram's frustration.
Hi guys, welcome back to What's Your Story. Today we have with us a guest that I'm so excited to introduce. It's Adarsh Gourav. Hi,
Thanks,
welcome
Pratisha.
to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
I've been watching your work for a while now, I think. And I also used to listen to music that you used to make with your band.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That was the kind of music I liked when I was in my teen angst phase. But I think Magic Man was a song that I kept listening to.
What the hell?
So I was so excited. I was like, yes, I do want to talk to him. But yeah, let's start pura beginning se. How was growing up in Jamshedpur like for you?
Like a cocoon, I grew up in this colony called Ashiana Enclave, which is in a suburb of Mango, spelt as mango. Most of my time was spent outdoors, just playing all kinds of games, lots of running, lots of climbing trees, lots of cricket, football, volleyball.
So from there, I know that you have an interest in music. You're fully trained in music, right? So वो वाला journey कहाँ से शुरू हुआ of being in music?
Both my parents actually have a keen ear for music, and my father was a trained Carnatic classical singer. So, his circumstances didn't allow him to pursue that as a career. But when they had me, actually even when they had my brother, they sort of put him in music, and then when they had me, they put me in music. And I responded to Hindustani classical instantly and started training since age 4.5, and then started performing since age 6, age 7. And growing up, I always believed that I would be a musician. I wanted to be a playback singer, specifically. And part of the reason why we moved to Bombay in 2007, my dad used to work for Central Bank of India. So he applied for a job here and he got his transfer. Incredibly so, the first few months in Bombay were just like, there was one opportunity after the other. It was almost like it was in my destiny to be a singer. I came here, I joined Ajivasan, Suresh Vadkarji's academy. I used to train under Padma Vadkar, and in a couple of months, I think she saw a lot of potential in me as a singer. She helped me get a couple of gigs in films. I sang for a film called Black and White, directed by Subhash Ghai, and of course in the chorus it wasn't like the main singer. But it was still such a huge deal for me to just be able to sing with Sukhwinder Singh. I remember going to the studio in Juhu in 2007 with my grandfather. I was 13 years old and I got 3,000 in solid cash, like in notes. And it's first money that I made in my life. And a few weeks later, I got to sing with Ilaiyaraaja.
So जब आप मिले थे Ilaiyaraaja, so did you know at that time that he's such an institution?
He looks like your grandfather.
Yeah.
He'll wear like a simple white shirt and lungi, and I was like, oh, this is maybe another grandfather. And he said, you know who he is? You know who you're working with today? I said, no. He said, he's A.R. Rahman's guru. And as soon as he said that, I was just like, oh shit, let's just touch his feet. Because I grew up listening to Rahman and I always idealized Rahman since I was a kid. And I knew if there was somebody who taught Rahman, he has to be like an absolute legend.
2 times you've done playback singing, if I'm not wrong, right? So
3 times actually.
3 times.
Yeah, the third time I did was for Banana, which hasn't come out yet.
It was supposed to be your debut film,
yes.
if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So let's start there itself. How did the kind of journey of getting Banana, shooting that film, how was that?
Banana happened in 2013. When I got a call for the audition, I remember I was with my brother that day at home, and it was incredible because Vaibhav Vishant, the casting director, who's a very dear friend now, he used to work with Mukesh Chhabra, and I'd auditioned for a few ads at their office, at the casting office. So they called me and they said there's an audition and it's for a character that's from Jamshedpur. And he didn't know I was from Jamshedpur. I said, what? I'm from Jamshedpur. He said, kya baat kar rahe ho? I said, huh? He said, acha, so anyway, this is, it's a story about this school called Loyola. And I said, I'm from Loyola. He said, what? I said, yeah. So it was such a big coincidence. And then I auditioned for the character and, I got the part and we filmed it in my school. It was such a life coming a full circle journey for me. After that film is when I realized how much I love performing and acting. Because before that it was more of a, yeah, well, it's a hobby, I'm doing it on the weekends, my mom's taking me for auditions, when I was starting out, but I never really took it too seriously.
But उससे पहले My Name is Khan में भी आपका एक रोल था, right? Which you played a younger Shah Rukh.
I played the younger Shah Rukh Khan.
But at that point you weren't sure that acting is something you want to do.
No, at that time it was more of a, because when somebody asked me if I want to act for the first time, I said yes because I was just a kid from a small town who was probably just fascinated by the idea of coming on television.
Yeah, why would you say no?
Yeah, and if anybody asks you, and I was not a shy kid, I was very confident, I was an extrovert. So when they asked me, I said, हाँ करना है मेरे को. So I started because of that. And My Name is Khan also happened after 1 year of auditioning. Like, I had auditioned for various ads, few films. And then I landed My Name is Khan. And My Name is Khan ke andar bhi, I had actually auditioned for Shah Rukh's son, which was a much bigger part. I didn't get that. And 3 months later, I got called in for an audition for Shah Rukh's younger version. And that's the part I got, which was a 2-minute role. But at that time, to just get to be part of a Karan Johar film, playing the young Shah Rukh Khan meant, I can't even tell you what it meant to me and my family. That night I remember it was, how Raju and Babu Bhaiya and Shyam don't sleep at night when they want to steal money. That was the mahal at my house. Nobody could sleep. Because nobody could believe that I got a film. My family has nothing to do with this, like this world of cinema or whatever. So like they were in complete shock and disbelief that I'm going to be working in a film like that. I remember one thing, that when I got the film, I was very excited that अच्छा अब तो अमेरिका जाने को मिलेगा, क्योंकि I thought that every Karan Johar film, तो you see it, the sets are so extravagant and you see the locations are so beautiful, and I'd never been outside of India. So I was like, यार अब तो सही है, visa लग जाएगा. And then I get a call saying that the shooting is at Chamunda petrol pump in Borivali. And I was like, यार ये तो पहली बार करण जौहर अपनी फिल्म में ऐसी लोकेशन पे शूट कर रहा है और मेरे ही साथ होना ही है, क्योंकि बाकी पूरी फिल्म अमेरिका में शूट हुई है.
Just you shooting.
सिर्फ वो 10 मिनट स्टार्टिंग का जिसमें मैं हूँ वो यहाँ पे शूट हुआ है. So, but anyway, it was just such an amazing experience to be part of that set. Yeah.
But you love traveling, right?
I do.
I see your Instagram हर 2-3 हफ्ते में कहीं ना कहीं तो you're traveling only.
Yeah, I don't like to be. For some reason, my energy. I like to be in more peaceful places where I can't hear the horn, and I like to be in a place where there are more trees and lesser humans, more animals, and more bugs and insects, and yeah, that's just my vibe.
Tell me, like, what has one of your favorite travel destinations been?
I recently went to Krabi actually, and I did my first dive. I did my open water paddy, and it was beautiful. It was life-changing, if I can call it, because I almost drowned a few years ago, and then to sort of go 18 meters deep into the water and be swimming with rays and like baby sharks and fish of all kinds and seeing corals, and it's such a surreal experience to see like fish have so much personality, because you see fish and you're like, oh, it's just fish, machli hai. But when you enter their territory, when you enter their home and you see them up close from here, you see all kinds of fish. You see fish who are welcoming, who will come and who out of curiosity will like nibble around you, and then there are fish who are like charging at you, who are asking you to fuck off. They're like, bro, you're not supposed to be here. Get out of here. हमारे घर में क्यों आया है? So it's so interesting to see like life in how it's supposed to be in the wild. I really enjoy seeing animals and birds and insects and fish and everything in their territory in the wild. Like I hate zoos. I hate it when we try to like capture them or like try to imprison them in some way. So
हाँ, I keep telling my friends कि मुझे deep sea diving जाना है purely क्योंकि मुझे sharks को देखना है, because I love sharks. And they just look at me like I have lost my mind. मैं उसमें problem क्या है?
I feel like Jaws just gave shark a very bad rep, like
just horrible PR.
Like piranhas gave piranhas a bad rep. So yeah, horrible PR, as you said. But they're actually beautiful creatures, man. I mean, they're not gonna come and attack you for no reason. I know so many people who've done dives with sharks.
After Banana, since that was supposed to be your debut, that didn't happen. What then was kind of like your mindset still going into the industry?
Well, I realized very early on in life to not pin my hopes on any one thing and to not be very overtly optimistic. After 1.5 years of feeling a bit let down, and it's also not an age where I guess boys talk to boys openly about things and about their feelings, so you kind of like just keep it inside.
Especially things like disappointment or grief.
Yeah. Boys don't discuss only these things too much into their later 20s, and now it's become more of, people are becoming more open to these kind of conversations. But yeah, exactly. But 10 years ago also there was. So yeah, I just sort of focused back on my music. I had my band going on, so Oak Island.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we used to do a lot of gigs and even came on MTV actually. And I think it was only after then Anurag Kashyap's Clean Shaven, which happened in my final year, was again when I started putting my focus back on acting.
Yeah. So how was that experience? Clean Shaven ka experience kaisa tha working with Anurag Kashyap?
I remember meeting Anurag Kashyap for the first time, so intimidated by him because all of us growing up were big fans of Wasipur and Black Friday and Panch and all of his filmography, Dave D. So I remember being super intimidated of him, and then once I started getting to know him, I realized how human he was and how normal and chill he was, and such a wonderful human being, man. Like I remember going to his house, his famous library and his DVD collection, and being in like complete awe of him. And I remember seeing that and being like, one day I want to have a library at my house, and you see a mini version of that now. I'll keep building on this. Hopefully one day I'll have a collection as nice as his. But yeah, so amazing to be on set with him, and the way we spoke about the character, working with Radhika Apte. I realized the force that she was when I did a couple of scenes with her. I was absolutely blown, like sometimes when you're doing a scene with an actor and when your co-actor is so brilliant, you become an admirer in the scene. Like, you switch off and you go out and you're just like, that happened to me when I was working with Radhika Apte. And I feel that working on that film gave me the confidence and validation as an actor. When he chose to work with me, I felt like maybe I have something in me.
So drama school में जो आपका time था, did that change you as an actor? मतलब आप पहले जैसे थे and after drama school?
Completely. I wasn't surrounded by the kind of people that I would have liked to be around, because I just didn't know where to find them. And also like just get to know about the craft in general, because उस time तक भी मैं अंधेरे में तीर चला रहा था. I had no process, I had no idea how to approach a role. I was just purely acting out of gut and out of instinct. Drama school gave me the tools and sort of made me more organized and also made me more disciplined as an actor. Actors are the only artists that don't practice their craft. Literally, you see any other artist, everybody does their riyaz, right? Singer, dancer, whoever. So when you go to drama school, you actually understand what your riyaz should be. And that is what it gave me. And the exposure to direction, because when I was there, I directed, I wrote, I did lights, I did sound, and exposure to playwrights as well, like Beckett and Brecht, and reading all these playwrights that I never knew existed. That kids in the West study when they're in the 7th grade in school, which is why you have such powerful child actors in the West. You see like a 10-year-old DiCaprio or a 13-year-old Christian Bale in Empire of the Sun, and you're like, how the hell is he doing that? It's because theatre and drama is such an integral part of their education system since they're kids. Kids are so, like, they're like sponges, right? Like, so if you expose them to even something complicated, they'll instantly like grasp it. So I feel like drama should become a more integral part of our educational system in general.
I get what you're saying, because when I was very small, people around, I grew up in Kochi for a while. I learned Malayalam out of just hearing it, and now I've forgotten it because it's a very difficult language. I didn't practice it after that, obviously, but just being exposed to it was enough for me to learn an entire language. Right?
That stage of human life is when you are the most receptive to everything.
You've done plays also. I know you've done a play by Shakespeare as well. In theatre.
Yeah, Lucrece. Right? Yeah. It's a sonnet actually. Yeah.
Yes, it's a sonnet, yeah. So how was that experience like of doing a Shakespeare sonnet for theatre?
It was daunting. One, I hadn't acted professionally ever before that. It was my first professional piece as an actor. I was working with a British director who had been doing Shakespeare for 30 years, Paul Goodwin. We did one show, but I just feel like it was an incredible learning experience to be, and that's actually the only time I've performed professionally on stage. I've never done theatre after that professionally.
So speaking then of The White Tiger, fabulous movie, just in general, just
Thank you.
brilliant work.
Thank you.
And getting that project, right? कहीं पे तो मैंने पढ़ा था कि आपने कहा था कि after you got that project, you didn't have any instant feelings or reaction about it, but did that change over time?
I was actually very scared when I got that project because I had to get out of another project which I'd gotten 2 weeks before I got this. So I was like, how am I going to say no to that? And before that, for 3 months, I had no work. So I was really struggling. And I was figuring out how to, because it was also the first time I'd moved out of my house, started paying my own rent and stuff. And for the first 3 months of moving out, I had no work. And suddenly I was like, is this a bad idea? Because I was just like dipping into my savings, and my savings weren't like a lot.
And to pay rent in Mumbai.
And to pay rent in Mumbai, and not just rent. Yeah, obviously anybody who's living alone knows it's so much more than just paying rent. When I got White Tiger, I was so in disbelief almost when I got it. I almost didn't go for the audition because when I got called for the audition, as I said, I was already prepping for another film. But the reason I went for the audition was purely because I had never gotten the chance to audition with Tess Joseph, and I knew that she casted for a lot of international projects. So when I got the sides, they didn't tell me what film it was for, and I read it and I instantly knew it was The White Tiger because I'd read the book as a teenager. So I said, oh, this is White Tiger, and obviously I'm not getting it because it's going to be a massive film and they're probably going to cast some big actor. So I was just like, but let's just focus on giving a good audition. So my focus was just on that. And before I knew it, I got the part and I was just like, how did this happen? And yeah, I feel like I'll forever be indebted to Ramin and Tess for giving a relatively newer actor with such little experience the opportunity to play one of the most complex characters, to lead a Netflix film. The film did so incredibly well, beyond what I'd ever imagined in my wildest dreams.
Of course it worked out. You got a BAFTA nomination.
It was insane, man. I don't know what to say.
BAFTA and Oscar. The film was nominated for an Oscar,
yeah.
Right? And rightfully so, because...
I attended everything right here. From this...
the lockdown.
Here. Yeah, the lockdown. So my laptop was here. I was staring into my screen right here. This was the background for my BAFTA and my Oscars.
Usually जब हम फिल्में देखते हैं, we always see it through a particular lens. In this, we're seeing the story through Balram's lens, which I think is very important for the film.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you prepare for that kind of character in this film?
When I got the part, I realized that Balram was extremely ambitious about life and was not happy being born in this village where everyone around him had no interest in education, and he was the only person who wanted to study. So I wanted to first of all go visit a village to first understand what it is to come from a village. So I befriended this guy who used to stay next to my building. I convinced him to take me to his village in 2 days, and he said yes. And we went and stayed at his village. We spent 2 weeks there, just like being like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. Both of us would just sit on his bike every day, go to some random corner of the village, and while being in that village, I spoke to the people there, and I realized how oppressed they were, some of them, and how even though they looked very happy, but once you spoke to them for 20 minutes, you realize their story and about how anxious they were about not having a job. And I had to lie about who I was, and I told them that I'm an unemployed person as well. I'm Akshay's friend. Akshay Naik was who took me to his village, and we would bond over being unemployed. And I also felt very bad that I was doing this. I was lying about who I was, but you have to sometimes. And then from there, I went to Delhi, and I didn't have a clear plan, but I thought maybe it'll be useful to drive for somebody. I feel when you do any kind of manual labor, it's very different than working anywhere else. And I believe that every time I play a character, I want to imitate the character's life as closely as possible. Initially I wanted to drive, but then nobody was giving me a driving job. And then I found this job of cleaning plates at a stall. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and it was completely eye-opening and life-changing for me again. Helped me understand Balram's frustration and desire to break out and do something with his life, you know, and constantly like pretend to be, you know, this subservient, to have this subservient nature, to be yes and yes sir, ji sir, but from the inside you don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to bend over repeatedly. But this idea of like almost slavery that's drilled into your head by virtue of your birth, by virtue of your caste, I began to understand that when I was prepping for it. And you know, even when you come from a middle class family, you take it for granted. When you go to a restaurant, you feel people are there to serve you, but they're not. People are there doing their job, trying to take care of their families. Everybody is trying to do things for themselves, and
Obviously.
by extension of that, it just so happens that they have to serve you water or serve you food, but that doesn't mean you behave like you know, like they're there to serve you.
But coming to your project Guns and Gulaabs,
Yeah.
your character, I think, after a long time, actually, that's a show that has made me laugh out loud. How did Ganchi Jr. happen?
I was called by Casting Bay to meet Raj and DK at their office, and they offered me the character, which again, I was completely in disbelief that someone would place so much faith and trust in me as an actor. I'm so thankful to them. But when I started reading about Ganchi Jr., I started realizing that they were very deeply, they always felt inadequate and insufficient about who they were, and constantly, you know, when you grow up in an environment where you haven't chosen violence, but violence is sort of imposed on you by virtue of being a gangster's son, at the core of it, Ganchi Jr. is just a deeply insecure, inadequate, suppressed individual who's pretending to be somebody else. And you know, so lonely, right? Because the one best friend that they have, Nirmal, is actually not their best friend, because Nirmal is essentially Ganchi Jr.'s best friend because he's scared to not be his best friend. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because Ganchi's chosen him to be his best friend.
Yeah.
Tu mera best friend hai. Ganchi Jr. is so blinded by his privilege and by, you know, by everything that's sort of repressing him, is that he doesn't see this poor man not wanting to be his best friend.
Yeah.
So there were so many beautiful layers about him that, you know, one by one I started peeling. And eventually I got inspiration. The starting track for me was actually a random YouTube video of a guy eating ice cream during an important meeting. And I saw that YouTube video and it blew my mind. I was just like, this is who Ganchi Jr. is. They are a man-child who don't understand the consequence of being a gangster. And so in the scene where I'm eating an ice cream, I was actually supposed to be doing something else. But I told Raj sir and DK sir that, sir, can I have an ice cream? And I showed them this other video that I had seen, and they were like, that's a beautiful idea. And
It's perfect.
Yeah.
You played a lot of your scenes with Satish Kaushik sir, and I'm sure that was also, like you said, when you're working with an actor who is so good, you kind of get influenced, or you're just in awe of them. Did that happen in Guns and Gulaabs as well?
Yeah, a lot. Grown up watching his films, and he was just a born storyteller, you know, Satish ji. Every time he walked into a room, you would leave everything you're doing and want to just go sit with him to listen to his stories. I would ask him about how Bombay was when he came here in the late 70s, and so many stories he told me about how it was the first day auto rickshaw started in Bombay. Because till the late 70s, there were only taxis, BST buses and trains, and then the government introduced auto rickshaws. So it was a massive thing in Bombay. So he remembers that day, and the way he described that day to me felt like I was living in that, like I went back in time to see that day. I'm just, it's hard for me to believe that he's not around anymore.
See, I get where you're coming from. Even when you see his films, just through his characters, you see what a force he used to be as an actor, right? And that's, I'm sure, very difficult to kind of deal with, his passing. And I'm going to ask you one last question. It's been eating at me. What is going on in this?
This actually my girlfriend drew for me on my birthday. This is a birthday gift. So Chonkus is a cat that I fell in love with while I was doing a cover for HT City Brunch. We named him Chonkus because he was very chonky, and he had a squint
Some
in
cats
his
are just
eyes.
chonky.
Yeah. And he had a squint in his eyes, and I wouldn't stop talking about this cat. And then eventually Radhika was like, you know what, I'll just draw it for him and give it to him on his birthday. So she drew that, and she framed it like, you know, it's got a very museum vibe, and she put a little crown on its head, gave it pearls and like a beautiful, elegant queen costume almost. And she named it Madame Chonkus Bhagwatulas, and Bhagwatula is my surname. So yeah, she's part of the family now.
But thank you so much for joining us. It's been so fun having you on this conversation. I'm genuinely very excited to see what you do next as well.
Thank you.